Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and welcome to the new house that I'm building. In today's video, we're going to meet with Jason Stringer of Camfil, one of the leading air filtration companies out there in the world, to talk about how we can build a smoking room in this house that allows me to get away with smoking indoors in my home. So it was my one non-negotiable with my wife, that I wanted to be able to smoke or enjoy a cigar inside. But as I've pursued this problem, it's become increasingly complex and difficult to solve. So I thought, we need to bring Jason out here, have him see the space, and talk through how we can pull this off. Hey, Jason, thank you for coming out.
Yeah.
And welcome to what hopefully is going to be my new home sometime here soon. So this little smoking project of mine has, let's say, spiraled a little bit out of control, so I appreciate you coming out. Of course, Camfil did the incredible smoke filtration system at my office. Yes. And, one of my greatest pleasures is being able to smoke indoors, especially here in Texas, where we either have, it's either too hot, too cold, or there's mosquitoes.
That's true.
So, I like to be able to enjoy a cigar inside. And the Camclean unit that we installed, has exceeded my expectations. More than I ever could have dreamed. Not only is it quiet, but it does an incredible job, scrubbing the air, removing the odor. And so I guess that kind of spoiled me. And so as we, started working on this place, I was like, what? If I'm going to build a house, I really want to make it so that I can smoke inside. But, it's a complex problem. That's why there's professionals like you guys. And so it's spiraled a little bit out of control. And so I wanted to see what you thought and what you would recommend so that we can actually pull this off, not to my satisfaction, but to my wife's. So let's go check out the living room and the study. So here we are. This is kind of the space that I was thinking would be best for really what I'm after. This was originally going to be a study, but we tore down the wall to open it into the formal dining room. And so my thinking was this formal dining room kind of opening, into a formal sitting room, which would be right here. And so, we added the fireplace. We've got a nice window. And so my thinking or my dream is to be able to put a nice little chair right there, sit and enjoy a cigar without the smoke really bothering the rest of the house. So. As you know, smoke is challenging, and air, I've been learning a lot about air, not just with what we did together, but through this project. And so what I originally thought was we'll just install air exhaust, right? Suck the air out, right? As long as it's powerful enough, it'll, really control the flow and movement of smoke. But I was at a wedding, and a friend of mine's a builder, and he was like, well, you've got to make sure that you replenish or replace that air that you're exhausting. I was like, well, I thought about that. And so apparently, 1300 CFM, you could start cracking windows, slamming doors shut. And so I was like, well, at that point, maybe I need to reach out, to a mechanical engineer. So I reached out to a mechanical guy, and he said, well, 1300 CFM is a massive amount of air to replenish, because it's not just replenishing air, but you have to replenish it with conditioned air. Right? And
yes.
And the residential HVAC unit can't condition 1300 CFM of air, 100% fresh air. So he looked into an AON unit, right, which is commercial. It's designed to condition 100% fresh air. So it brings it in from the outside. It apparently cools it all the way to 50 degrees to remove all the humidity, and then heats it to whatever your desired temperature is. And so he recommended 350 cubic feet a minute of air, which would be a 3-ton unit, and it priced out at like $30,000 or $40,000.
It's a lot.
So, and it was going to be complex. So we needed, the whatever it is that goes inside plus the compressor outside. We're going to have to run. So, that was without even installation. So that's kind of brought us to where we are now, which is that extraction alone isn't going to work. Extraction with resupply is kind of economically unfeasible. At this point in my life, maybe in the future sometime we'll really do it proper.
Okay.
And so that's what kind of brought me back to the Camfil unit, which is, I guess I'm kind of coming full circle here. And, we are now where it was I begun and thought, well, that'd be too complex. And actually, it seems like the CamClean may be the best option. So wanted to kind of see what you thought.
Well, I think you might be right. With the Cam Cleaner 2000, you're taking the air and you are cleaning it. You're taking the smoke out of the area. You're taking the smell out of the area.
Yeah.
And then you can return it back to wherever you want to.
Yeah.
You're not causing any negative or positive pressure, and it's pretty economical. I mean, you know, they come in $10,000 or $15,000 plus install.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, which is way less expensive than the other unit. And so what I was thinking is that, you know, the most important thing here is that we're able to control the movement of the smoke so that it's not drifting out, right? Because that's one problem. And then second, that we're able to scrub it, that we can, you know, pull out the particles and then scrub the odors.
Right.
And so the Cam Clean unit, you know, really does both of that. Really, all three of those things.
That's true. That's true. The with the Cam Cleaner 2000, we'll put a MERV 14 pocket filter in there.
Okay.
And hospitals all around the world use MERV 14 filters. So it'll be hospital grade type filters with canisters that have carbon that will scrub the smell out of the room.
Yeah. So, and then it's moving up to 2,000 CFM, so we can tune it, like you can tune it down. And so it's extracting that air, and then we can kind of replenish that clean air back anywhere in the house. And that gives us air movement, I guess simulating negative air pressure, so that the air is kind of moving into this area. You know, we ducted, I guess what would be the supply, but what was originally going to be the exhaust, to the attic. And so by putting it right here, we're pulling the air, it's being pulled out, it's being sent to the attic, it's going through that Cam Clean unit, being scrubbed, and then returned back in the house.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what do you think about, you know, one supply versus, you know, maybe splitting that and throwing them into the corners? I mean, is that kind of that important, or?
Oh, I mean, I think one supply would be fine.
Yeah.
And then sending it, you know, plus you're having less duct work.
Yeah.
And duct work is expensive these days.
Yeah.
So if you have one supply and bringing it into the unit and then taking that out and putting it back into the space, I think that's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. And then, you know, ducting it to, you know, the attic gives us the benefit of the fact that the unit can be, just like at the office, offset from where it is that we would be actually smoking, so we don't hear any of that noise.
That is true. And plus, with the space that you have and the CFM that you need, the cubic feet per minute, you can turn it down from a 2,000 CFM unit down to a 1,200 or 1,000 CFM unit, and it'll run a little bit quieter as well.
Yeah, so less noise, and maybe we don't need kind of all that airflow. Interesting. And then I guess, you know, one of the other things I was thinking about as I was kind of noodling through this in my head is that, you know, with the air exhaust and fresh air, right? I mean, that's great. We're bringing in 100% fresh air, which would be good for the house, I suppose. But it really would only be practical to run while I was actually smoking. But the beauty of the Cam Clean unit, I guess, is that we could always run it to just increase the overall air quality of the house because it's recirculating and scrubbing the air.
You can. I mean, it's taking the air that's in the space and it's putting it through a MERV 14 filter and then bringing it back into the space.
Yeah. And what about the, so talk to me a little bit about the carbon canister. So, I mean, we filmed a little update video on the office unit because I think we're testing those units to see where they are in their lifetime.
Right.
But it's 125 pounds of carbon. I mean, it's compared to the residential or the consumer grade air filtration systems that might have a pound or two of carbon in it. I mean, it's a pretty significant amount of carbon that you're moving that air through.
That's true. I mean, you have 16 canisters in a Cam Cleaner 2000, and it is an industrial unit. So with those 16 canisters, you have a massive amount of carbon that's bringing through there. And one thing about that is that because you're bringing that the air through all of that carbon, that those canisters could last possibly for years, decades maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. And it's not just removing the odor, but it's, I mean, how's the carbon work? I mean, it's called activated carbon, right? But what, as a layperson, you know, that's non-technical, kind of help me understand what the benefit of that is.
So we have a proprietary carbon. It's called RAD, rapid absorbing.
I love these acronyms.
Yes, exactly. It's like, and so basically with carbon, you have all these minuscule little pockets and stuff that that the air, when it passes through, all of those VOCs, the volatile organic compounds, nitrous oxides, the ozone, all that will go into those little pockets and accumulate, and then it passes the fresh air.
Effectively traps those.
It does, and there's, I mean, millions of little pockets into the in the carbon, and then you have so much of that carbon in each canister.
Yeah.
So it's huge absorption, not absorption, but adsorption.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting. What are the other applications for
we do a lot of molecular in with transportation.
Okay.
We do molecular with in exhausting of volatile gases in production facilities.
Okay.
In smoke situations, welding, all kinds of applications.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things I liked about, Camfil, is that, there's a lot of products out there, designed for consumer use. And what I've always found is that, they never quite do the job because, they've got to hit, a more accessible price point, I suppose. And so they're always underrated, if you will, to actually really make any difference. And so what I appreciate about the Cam Clean unit is that it is, first and foremost an industrial or commercial design for industrial and commercial applications. So when you bring it into residential, or you take it to like what I'm doing at the office, I mean, in some ways you could call it overkill, but you have the confidence of knowing that it's going to do and perform exactly how it is that it was intended.
100% true. It's like, it is an industrial unit, looks really good.
Yeah.
But it also, you have the peace of mind knowing that it's not going to break down in a year.
Yeah.
It's not going to break down in 18 months, and you know that it's going to be something that's going to last for a long, long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Well, I think we've kind of got it nailed. So, you're recommending keeping the one vent, right? I mean, there's no point of going to the trouble to split it. It's going to pull the air from right there, and honestly, I don't think it looks bad.
It's perfect, especially if you're going to be smoking right here.
Yeah, my idea is right here. We've got the fireplace,
Yeah.
On a nice cold kind of winter evening.
Yeah.
And then we can dump the air back, really anywhere. We've got this entryway. We could throw it back from there. And again, one of the big concerns is this door, right? I don't want smoke leaving here. That's the closest kind of pathway out of this space.
Right.
And so if we dump it into kind of the entry hall, which is, you can see it's 2 stories, and not only would it be easy from a ductwork perspective there, but it also ensures that the air is going to kind of fall down and drift in here. So again, we maintain that good kind of movement, from the rest of the house here.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to control the smoke.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, let's continue to work on this. I can, finally at the point where I'm confident enough that I think we found the right solution, and I'm thrilled that it brought us back together. So, Jason, hey, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping by, and let's see what we can do. Hopefully, we'll be enjoying a nice cigar here, in 6 months.
Let me know.
And our wives can be, not yelling at us.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, few quick updates on everyone on my home smoke filtration project. As you know, we have got that Cam Clean unit being made. I'm very excited about that. They sheetrocked the house. They're getting ready to really kind of start working on the interior. And I just found out from someone, unfortunately a few weeks too late, that apparently flex duct is only rated to 350 cubic feet a minute, and that if you try to run more air than that through flex duct, it begins ripping apart. Well, that's a problem because this Cam Clean unit is rated up to 2,000 cubic feet a minute, and we were actually planning on tuning it down to run just 700 to 1,000 cubic feet a minute through that flex duct, but flex duct ripping apart and spilling smoke all into the house is a little bit of a problem. So, as a friend of mine always says, is that every problem you know about is a problem that you can solve. This means that unfortunately we're gonna have to rip the sheetrock out of the house, not everywhere, and then we're gonna have to replace that flex duct with hard ductwork, right? So the hard metal ductwork, the rigid ductwork is rated to a much higher amount of CFM than flex duct, and hopefully that problem will be solved. So there we go. I'm a little bit frustrated about that, but I suppose better that I know about this problem now than later. And I'm doing this all for your benefit here. This will not be a mistake that you make if you ever install one of these beautiful units inside your house. And now I just find myself, I'm so committed to the idea of having this smoke filtration system in my house that I find that each progressive step of the way, when the problems become progressively more absurd, I'm just so committed to just push through them and make sure that this thing finally gets implemented in my house. So hopefully this is the last problem, but it's for now a problem that we can solve. Another quick update. This one luckily is not going to cost me money. As you know, the Camclean unit that we have installed here at the office, it has 16 carbon canisters, not 12 like I mentioned in the last video. 125 pounds of carbon. I mean, this thing is a sledgehammer. It's incredible. But the big question is how often does this carbon need to be replaced? Not only does carbon have a half-life where it kind of degrades over time, but the more you use it, the more it degrades, and at a certain point it no longer is effective at removing those chemicals from the air. So one of the big questions is how often do I need to replace the carbon? Well, you know, long story short, no one can really tell you. They can guess, but there's only one way to know, and that's by sending these carbon canisters off to be tested. We did that with Camfil, and I'm happy to say that we finally got the results back. So we only had to send 2 canisters off to be tested. And the great news is that they have 92% of their life left. So I'm not gonna have to pay to replace those things anytime soon. I think it's like $1,800 to replace all that carbon. It's a lot of carbon. But the good news is that I don't have to do that. 92% of their useful life after 16 to 18 months of usage. You know, probably means that I can easily get another 18 months, 2 years out of that before even thinking about sending them off to be replaced again. So that's great. And then I was speaking with Jason about the bag filter, which pulls out the particles. I mean, it's a massive bag filter. You know, I could probably get 10 years out of that thing here in this office. I mean, it's rated for a year of continuous use in something like a warehouse. And so here, I'm not smoking that often. It's only, you know, probably getting a few hours a year of use. So it still can be used. So there we go. Need to spend more time smoking. And the good news is that we'll be able to do that without having to spend any more money on that Camclean.